everybody, this is Heather with Temple-Bound Paradox, and today I want to share with you a book that I started, Heaven is Here by Stephanie Nielson. As much as I had decided that I was going to try and plow through this book, I've kind of decided that this one's going to be a DNF for me. I'm not going to finish it, and I have a couple of reasons for that. And let me start off by saying that I got about 59 pages into this book. I'll usually give a book at least that long, if not longer, before I'll decide whether or not I'm going to finish it. Honestly, I just don't know that I can do this to myself. To talk about what it is that I do like and what I don't like, I try with every book that I read to offer at least something that I like about it. I do particularly like, I don't know, and this is going to seem contradictory with this other stuff I'm going to say, but I really do like kind of the atmosphere of this book, what it creates here. Reading this reminds me a lot of reading Pride and Prejudice or reading Little Women. She gives off this aura of herself, and I feel like it captures that feeling incredibly well, just that sweet, naive innocence, that feeling, that sentimentality is so typical of those other types of books, especially those other types of books that Mormon girls like to read. Because I'm a big fan of those books, I fully anticipated to be on board with where this was going. But the longer I read it, the more I realized that this isn't just a woman celebrating life and her triumph and being a godly woman has given to her. In a lot of ways, it also reads like a celebration of privilege, and I just can't. For a little while there, I felt a little bit guilty that I couldn't, but then I took a step back and I realized, you know, there's nothing making me read this. There's nothing making me uphold someone else's ideals. There's nothing that's forcing me to finish this book other than me. So I've kind of just decided that I don't really want to. So I just kind of want to talk about where I'm coming from with some specific examples from the book about how to gauge whether or not this is something that's going to interest you. Let me start off by saying that my favorite character in the book so far is actually Stephanie's father. And it's because she starts off by saying how she met her husband, Christian, how it was kind of a chance encounter, and how she knew right away that she was going to marry him, and that this really came after like one date and one day of knowing him, how this completely like turned her life upside down, and just like just being awash in emotion. And at one point her dad just says, "Oh hell, you deal with this because I'm not going to." And I laughed so hard because her father said kind of what I was actually thinking. And people who have had kind of more that hard knock reality check throughout life, that life doesn't work out the way you want it to, life doesn't owe you anything, life is not, you know, this experience that's handed to you on a silver platter just for the desiring. He ended up being my favorite person in the whole 59 so pages that I read. Stephanie realizes that she's lived a very charmed life, and she tries to recognize that, and she tries to acknowledge it, and she tries to do it by saying a lot how grateful she is for the things that she has and for the experiences that she's able to have because of her privilege. But somehow, to me, that's just not enough. I don't enjoy reading about, you know, really what looks like lavish wealth to me based on what my experience was growing up, just because that person who's in that situation is grateful for what they have. That doesn't do it for me. That doesn't make me interested enough in someone else's story to make me want to finish reading it. Just to kind of give some examples, you know, she's always going into the brands of the things that she has. So when she's getting ready for her first date, she's picking out her from her Banana Republic wardrobe. Or when they went on one of their first dates after Christian got back from Africa, her mom just throws her the keys of an Audi convertible and says, "Here, take my car." Never in a million years, even if I hadn't grown up in abject poverty, even if my mom had ever had an Audi, that is the last thing on earth she would have done for me at 19 years old. Because 19-year-olds don't deserve to drive luxury cars. You're 19 years old. Are you kidding me? Being able to pay for himself to go to Africa in order to film this project, which, even though that was related to something charitable and admirable, you You know, you really, as you're reading this, have to take a step back and realize these people are not normal. They're not normal in the wealth that they have, in the privileges that they have, and the things that they're able to do with their life. And because of that, you shouldn't stop at any point and compare yourself to them. Because if you do, you're going to end up like I was, sitting on my couch crying and questioning all of my life choices and not understanding how in the world, why do I feel this way? I'm happy with my life. Why on earth am I sitting here feeling embarrassed or ashamed because of what I have? This is stupid. Like, I had to stop myself and tell myself what I was feeling was stupid and I needed to get a grip. This was just kind of my reaction to what's taking place, while all at the same time, it feels like this total fantasy, because that's what it is to most people. It's a fantasy, and yet I'm being sucked into it, feeling like, oh, that'd be nice to be able to do that. And it's like, no, wait a minute. She's 19 years old, and just like this whole time, she's 19, she's 20 years old. This is the reality check that I keep having to give myself and saying, you know what, this isn't normal. And then kind of what really just culminated it all for me is that, you know, they're newlyweds. She gets pregnant almost right away, and before they even get married, they're starting off in a house together, like in an actual purchased house. You know, when my husband and I got married, we didn't have like 2 cents to rub together. We lived next door to crackheads and heroin addicts, and we didn't grow up with much in the way of privilege, and when we got married, that didn't change for us right away. And even now, we live very comfortably, we live in a very safe neighborhood, we're very happy where we are very much aware of the privileges that we have, and how conscientious we need to be to never put that in somebody else's face, because we know what that's like. We know what it's like to be around people who flaunt wealth and don't even realize that that's what they're doing. You know, at the same age that Stephanie was when she was getting married, at like 19 years old, I was at BYU. I was surrounded by people who, you know, couldn't even begin to fathom or imagine what my life was like, because I was a convert. I didn't grow up like them. I didn't grow up with parents who had Audi convertibles. I didn't grow up with people who dressed in clothes that came from Banana Republic. You know, one of my friends that I met in college, his high school was the set for High School Musical. That was the school in Utah that he went to. I grew up basically as close to homeless as you can be while actually still having a place to live. You know, I grew up in a family with a single mother who didn't get child support from my dad. I had free lunch in high school. I ate lunch in a cafeteria that was under construction where you could see roaches that were caught in roach traps on the floor. It was self-segregated and where kids got stabbed in the hallway. That was where I went to high school. From the background that I have, I can't read this. I can't read this because it's a total fantasy. Like, instead of a memoir, which I don't see that being anywhere on here, that it's a memoir. This is kind of like creative nonfiction. That's kind of how I would classify this, because there's absolutely no way, even if she is presenting facts about the way that her life is played out, that this is the way it looks all the time. You're not telling me that, because I don't believe you. You know, I've been in the church long enough to know that those things aren't real. They're culture. They are what people present to the world as the versions of their life that they want people to see, but it's not actually like that. And I've been in the church long enough to see families who present themselves that way. They're divorced now. You're not going to convince me that that is real. It's not real. And I've seen the toxic damage that it does to people when they insist that it is real and it has to be real. If dedicating yourself to motherhood is what you feel like you want to do with your life, that's not the issue here. And every single time I hear one of these mommy bloggers talk about it, that's what they talk about. They talk about how, but that's how I really wanted to present myself. I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to bake the cookies. I wanted to stay home with my kids. That's what I wanted. That's not the problem. The problem is when you present that like it's the be-all and the end-all of existence, that you never have a bad day, and even the bad days that you talk about, you pass over them glibly, like, oh, well, I was kind of sad that, you know, my husband wasn't there to take care of me when I would get sick when I was pregnant, but that was really the only problem that we ever have. That's not the only problem that anybody ever has. And if that's honestly what you believe about your life, like, good on you, but the rest of us, that's not the way we live, and we don't believe you. When I say fictional, perhaps that word is not, perhaps I'm being too critical when I say that, but that's kind of how it looks to me. Never in my life have I met someone like Stephanie Nielson where it wasn't a giant game of pretend, and that's the only thing I can say. I've never met anybody like that. Maybe she's figured out something that the rest of us don't know, but I doubt it, and that's how I feel. I'm all for people telling their story, and I'm all for people telling their story the way that they want to tell it, even if it is an overly idealized, rose-tinted glasses versions of reality. If you want to do that, go for it, but I'm not going to read it. Those are my feelings on this book. That's why I'm not going to finish it. I've never really been into the mommy blogger scene, and so I really kind of questioned, even when I picked this one, whether or not I was going to like it, and I don't feel bad for that. Just in case there are other people who come across this review and kind of had that same reaction as I did to this book or to these blogs or to these Instagram feeds, I really want you guys to understand that this is not normal and that there's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way. There's like some morbid psychology going on when you have that reaction to these things, and it's because what you're reading honestly is a fictionalized reality. And I'm gonna leave a link down below in the description to an article that I read the same day that I read this book. I didn't even go looking for it. It's just something that showed up on Twitter about how unrealistic a lot of these mommy blogs are and the reactions that people have to them, and how it's not you, it's a phenomenon with this thing. And so I really just want to say to people, if you are feeling the pressure of comparing yourself to somebody else, if you feel like your life is less than because of something that you're reading or something that you're looking at on the internet, please don't do that to yourself. Don't feel like you're less of a person just because you don't have what other people have. The reason that people have those types of things is because of hard work. I will admit that. I'm not knocking anybody's hard work, but a lot of it also comes from privilege. And sometimes hard work isn't enough to get you that, and that's not your fault. So going on from here, I think it's only appropriate to go into reading Being Enough by Chieko Okazaki. I kind of need a really good reality check after starting this one, and then from there I'll move on to Elizabeth Smart's My Story. And I'm gonna be completely transparent with you guys, I don't know that I'm actually gonna be able to read that one either. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave comments what you thought of this book, other recommendations that you might have. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening to my review today, and I hope to see you again.